Hi, it's me, and today I'll be testing the living daylights out of an interesting new kit zoom lens that Canon have developed to be a good option for video making on their aps-c sensor-sized RF mount cameras. It's the RF-S 14-30mm f4 6.3 IS STM PZ. It's a kit lens with an extra wide angle and power zoom capability at the cost of not zooming in so far and having a dark maximum aperture. If bought as part of a kit with the new EOS 50V camera, it'll cost you $200 or £230 here in the UK. Bought separately, it's a still affordable $329, but a somewhat pricey £379 here in the UK, although a big part of that is probably our much higher sales tax or VAT. Like I said, it's just for Canon's RF mount mirrorless cameras, and it only offers a cropped aps-c image circle, not full frame. I'd like to thank Canon UK for loaning me this lens for testing, although as usual, this is a totally independent review. That 14-30mm zoom range is the full frame equivalent of about 22-48mm, so like I said, it's extra wide but doesn't reach forward so far. That's really useful though for vlogging, as you can see here. It's possible of course to get even wider angle zoom lenses on Canon RF than this, some with apertures as bright as f2.8, but none which then go on to zoom in this far as 30mm, and no others that I know of with power zoom, so actually it's a handy lens to have for the R50V, or the R50, or any other aps-c Canon RF camera. That maximum aperture of only f4 at the wide end, darkening to f6.3 when you zoom in, is pretty dark though, forcing your camera to sometimes shoot at high ISO levels and preventing you from getting especially out of focus backgrounds. Anyone seeking to upgrade from this kit lens will probably want to get a brighter aperture option first and foremost. But that's your choice of course. Let's just get stuck into testing out this lens as it is and see what it can do. The lens is a little bigger than I was expecting it to be, but at least it doesn't extend while zooming, which is an advantage for anyone trying to balance it on an electronic gimbal, and it's lightweight too, at only 181 grams. The lens is made of plastic, down to it having a plastic mount with no visible weather sealing, so we are definitely on the low budget end of things here. There are no controls for image stabilization or auto manual focus on the side of the lens here. We go straight into a spring-loaded power zoom ring. The zoom function seems to have just two speeds to it, somewhat slow or moderately quick. Actually, on some cameras, like the EOS R50V I was testing, but not my trusty old EOS R7, you can adjust those two speeds in the menus like so. So after doing that on the R50V, here is the slowest speed I could get out of the zoom function, and now the fastest. There you go. The motor doesn't generally speed up or slow down into your zoom movements, making your zooms look a little mechanical, a little robotic, but hey, the zoom action is at least powered so you can control it directly with your camera. Well, if your camera actually has the option to do so, that is, like the R50V does. Let's have a quick look at the lens's image stabilization. Here's some footage at 30mm with it turned off, and now turned on, where you can see it's doing a very nice solid little job. In front of the plastic zoom ring, we get a plastic control ring, which is set to manually focus by default, although it can be customized in your camera's menu to do other things. It turns very smoothly, and when adjusting your focus, I found it to be really nice and responsive. Some other good news is that, whether you're zoomed in or zoomed out, the lens doesn't really show any serious focus breathing. Again, that's important for video work. The lens's autofocus motor was silent, accurate, and very fast in my tests, as you can see here. No problems focus tracking either, but honestly, with such a dark maximum aperture, this lens was never going to present a huge challenge to its camera's autofocus system. The front filter size is 58mm wide, and it does not come with a hood. Overall, the build quality here is cheap and cheerful, but its electronics inside actually work very well, and the low focus breathing is also an appropriate feature for a video-oriented lens. But plenty of still pictures are going to be taken with these lenses too, so let's take a look at its image quality. As usual, I'm going to really challenge the thing by testing it on my Canon EOS R7 with its 32MP sensor. In-camera corrections are turned on for this test. At 14mm and f4, the lens is razor sharp in the middle with excellent contrast, And in the corners, wow, they're looking very sharp too, although we're getting some unusual patterns in the finer details. I bet that's because of in-camera distortion correction, and I'll talk more about uncorrected distortion in a minute. The lens stays this sharp at f5.6, and at f8 on such a high resolution sensor, we're already beginning to see some softness now emerging from diffraction. Let's zoom in a bit to 20mm, where the maximum aperture has darkened to f5. Image quality is as sharp as ever in the middle. Corner image quality is looking softer here though. Stop down to f8 for a very small improvement, but if you stop down to f11, the image just gets softer again due to diffraction. Finally, let's zoom all the way into 30mm. At the new maximum aperture of f6.3, again, sharpness and contrast are excellent in the middle. The corners are looking a bit softer again, but not as bad as at 20mm, and actually this is a very good performance considering the demands of the EOS R7's rather brutal sensor. Here is f8, by the way, it looks about the same. Overall, it's fairly positive news here. The EOS R7 has a marauding barbarian of a 32 megapixel sensor inside it. It's so demanding that even some of the best lenses struggle, and yet this inexpensive zoom lens is offering quite a bit of detail and contrast throughout its admittedly rather short zoom range. It'll be more than sharp enough for use on a 24 megapixel sensor, such as that inside the EOS R50V camera it was introduced with, and it's also more than sharp enough for 4K video work, so good job here, Canon. Let's bypass in-camera corrections by shooting in RAW and see about the lens's distortion and vignetting. As expected, at the wide-angle end we're seeing huge uncorrected barrel distortion here and strong vignetting at f4, although at least the image covers the whole sensor frame, which you can't take for granted these days. Darken the aperture to f5.6, f8 or f11 to brighten those corners. That distortion does not fully straighten out until you zoom all the way into 30mm, where at f6.3 vignetting is only moderate. Again, stop down to f8 or f11 to see those corners brighten up. So if you're shooting in RAW, make sure those images at the wide end are at least getting corrected for their distortion. The lens has a little ace up its sleeve in that it can focus fantastically closely to your subject throughout its entire zoom range, down to just 15 centimeters, which is incredibly fun. At 30mm and f6.3, close-up image quality is soft and hazy with blue color fringing. Stop down to f8 and close-up image quality does become a little better with good contrast, but stopping down further than this will just soften your image again due to diffraction. When it comes to working against bright lights, the lens puts in just an average performance here. Contrast remains fairly good, but we see a fair bit of purpley blue flaring. It's not too opaque, thankfully, but it's definitely there, whether you're zoomed out or zoomed in. While we're working in the dark, let's take a look for coma and sun stars. At 14mm and f4, we don't see any signs of coma smearing in the image corners, so that's handy. Let's zoom out and look for sun stars. At f5.6 they begin to emerge, but they're very, very thin and hard to see. They remain like that all the way down to f11. Although if you stop down to f16 or particularly f22, they can look pretty big. But who wants to shoot at f22? The image will just be too soft. Anyway, finally, bokeh. Due to its very wide angle and dark maximum aperture, this is one of the last lenses you will want for getting out of focus backgrounds in your images, but get close enough to your subject and some background separation is possible here. The good news is that those backgrounds always look lovely and soft. Overall, while the RF-S 14-30 might not be the most exciting new lens in the world, it is at least remarkably competent. It's nice and sharp, even on a very high resolution camera. Its autofocus, stabilization and power zoom feature all work really well. Its focus breathing is low and its price is reasonable. While it won't rock your photographic universe to its very foundations, still it's a very well done kit lens for video makers, so I would say it's easily worth spending the extra $200 to get it with your new camera. Thanks for watching everyone, I hope you enjoyed the review, and a big thanks to all my Patreon supporters and channel members who help to keep this channel trucking on sponsorship free while getting all kinds of exclusive bonus content. Ciao for now.